All right, today we're decoding a really high-stakes medical protocol. This is something that plays out every single day in ambulances and ERs all over the world. We're talking about a true race against time, where that first hour, well, it can literally mean the difference between life and death.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a pretty terrifying question, right? You count on your immune system to be your ultimate defender, this internal security force. But what happens when that very same force turns on you?
Well, the answer is a life-threatening emergency called sepsis. And here's the key thing to get. It's not the infection itself. It's your body's catastrophic overreaction to it. And for the first responders on the scene, the moment they walk through that door, the clock is already ticking. Every single second counts.
Okay, so before we can really break down the protocol, we have to understand the enemy. What is sepsis, really?
So think about it like this. Your body's security system spots an invader, right? And it hits the panic button. But instead of a targeted specific response, it just goes completely haywire. It launches this all-out body-wide assault, and that friendly fire starts attacking your own tissues and organs. That is sepsis. It's basically a betrayal from the inside.
So, picture this. A paramedic arrives on the scene. They don't have a high-tech lab or anything like that. They've just got their eyes, their ears, and their training. Their first job is to basically become a detective and start looking for clues.
And that investigation? It starts with questions. Have you had a fever recently? Any chills? Are you on antibiotics? Do you have a history of something like diabetes or cancer? You know, things that might compromise the immune system. Then they combine those historical clues with what they can see right in front of them. Is this person acting confused? Is their mental status off? They might even press on your skin to see how quickly the color returns. Every single answer is another piece of this incredibly high-stakes puzzle. Okay, so once they've gathered all these initial clues, they need a way to put the pieces together. They use a formal screening tool to see if their hunch is right. It's time to crack the sepsis code.
And this is it. The sepsis screen is basically a three-part checklist. First, is there a good reason to even suspect an infection? Second, is the body showing signs of that widespread inflammation we talked about? And third, is the circulatory system, is it already starting to fail? You really need to check boxes in these different areas to flag a patient for sepsis. Now that second step, the inflammation part, that is absolutely crucial. This is where a gut feeling, a suspicion, starts to turn into something much more solid. Paramedics are looking for at least two specific markers of something called systemic inflammatory response syndrome, or much easier, SARS. This is the hard evidence, the proof that the body's security system has gone haywire.
And just look at what they're searching for. These numbers tell a really clear story. A temperature that's either too high, over 100, or surprisingly low, a heart just racing away at over 90 beats per minute, breathing way too fast, more than 20 times a minute. Heck, even high blood sugar in a person who isn't diabetic can be a sign. These are not random symptoms, you know. They are the blaring alarms of a system in total chaos. And if a patient has two or more of these, that is a massive red flag.
And as soon as that screen comes back positive, boom, everything changes. The detective work is over, the field diagnosis is in, suspected sepsis. And right then and there, the mission completely shifts from investigation to immediate, aggressive treatment.
So with that positive screen, the race just got a whole lot faster. Sepsis can spiral out of control with terrifying speed. So the next critical question is, okay, just how bad is it right now? And this is where we have to understand the difference between sepsis and the even more dangerous septic shock. Think of it this way. With sepsis, the body is still fighting. Yeah, it's a messy, destructive fight, but it's fighting. With septic shock, the body is failing. The whole system is starting to collapse, blood pressure is tanking, and the organs just aren't getting the oxygen they need to survive. And you can actually see the signs of that failure. A systolic blood pressure under 90, that's the classic sign. But they also look at things like the amount of carbon dioxide in a patient's breath. A low reading there is a huge indicator that the circulation is poor. You add that to skin that looks blotchy or feels cold, or maybe you can't even find a strong pulse at the wrist, all clear signs the system is shutting down. So, what's the game plan? What do they do right away? The treatment starts immediately, whether the patient is in full-blown shock or not. First, get them on oxygen to help feed those starving tissues. Second, get an IV started. Create a direct pipeline into the bloodstream. And third, the big one, start pushing fluids to prop up that failing system.
And we're not talking about a slow drip here. This protocol is aggressive. It calls for 30 milliliters of fluid for every single kilogram of body weight. I mean, for your average adult, that's 2, maybe even 3 liters of fluid. Basically, big bags of saline pumped in as fast as it can go. The whole goal is to physically fill up the tank and get that blood pressure back up.
But it's a really delicate balance. You can't just dump fluid in without thinking. Pushing too much can be super dangerous, especially if someone has heart or kidney problems. That's why the protocol is so specific here. Reassess constantly. They're listening to the patient's lungs after every bag, checking for signs that the fluid is backing up. It's a real high-wire act, and they're doing it in the back of a moving ambulance.
Okay, so we've just gone through this whole protocol, this race against time. So what are the big things, the key takeaways you really need to remember?
First, remember that sepsis isn't the bug, it's the body's massive overreaction to the bug. Second, finding it isn't just a lucky guess, it's a step-by-step screening process. Third, keep those key signs in your head. Big changes in temperature, heart rate, or breathing. Those are huge warning signs. Fourth, the immediate fix is oxygen and a whole lot of IV fluids, fast. And finally, and this is the most important one, with sepsis, time is everything. Time is tissue, time is organs, time is life. And that really brings us to the final, most important question. Because this stuff, it's not just for paramedics. This is knowledge that can genuinely save a life. Just being able to recognize those early signs and call for help right away can make all the difference in the world. So think about it. Who in your life needs to know these signs?